of the biggest and most discussed mysteries of the Dark Souls franchise has been that of Lord Gwyn's Firstborn, heir to the reign and god of war, but nonetheless for some reason stripped of his title and sent into exile. And that of Solaire of Astora, warrior of sunlight in search of his son. Many players have built up the idea that Solaire is himself Lord Gwyn's eldest son. This thesis bases on multiple elements. On one hand, we've got Solaire's equipment, especially his sunlight straightsword, which is depicted by a lot of statues found in Londor, imaging a newborn holding this weapon. Then we got the fact that he's summonable in all those boss fights regarding Gwyn's reign directly, and furthermore, he's also available during the final boss fight against Gwyn himself, in case you manage to save him from madness during his quest line, suggesting some sort of rivalry. The release of Dark Souls 3 gives us finally some new insight into the matter, delivering an important optional boss, whose appearance and more so his equipment descriptions seem to give us some more concrete hints on who Gwyn's Firstborn was, what he has done, and why he lost his position. Starting with his appearance, it's undeniable that the Nameless King looks very similar to Gwyn, his crown, his stature, and his jewelry. In fact, after beating him, it's possible to buy his armor set, like for every other boss in the game, and by reading the description of his crown and his bracelets, the game itself tells us that they look a lot like those worn by Gwyn, confirming a first connection between the two. But at this point the question raises instantly. Is it really possible that the Nameless King is the long-lost son of the Lord of Sunlight Gwyn? If so, why did his father send him away? And who was Solaire in all of this? After his defeat, the Nameless King will drop his soul, and by reading its description, more clues are collected. He was once a dragon-slaying god of war, before he sacrificed everything to ally himself with the ancient dragons. Then again, his dragon slayer sword spear tells us that it's a dragon hunting weapon from the Age of Gods. Its owner was the Nameless King and the deific hunter of dragons. The sword spear is imbued with lightning, of which he was the heir. So the picture now starts getting much clearer. We've got concrete proof in our hands that the Nameless King is in fact Gwyn's Firstborn, who was a dragon-hunting god of war, capable of using Gwyn's lightning miracles. And we've obtained also another important piece of information. The Nameless King seems to have allied with the dragons for unknown reasons, in a time where his father was leading the war against these ancient beings, which was probably why Gwyn exiled him. The fact that the king is nameless is also explained by the ring of the sun's firstborn, which tells us that the sun's firstborn was once a god of war, until he was stripped of his stature as punishment for his foolishness. No wonder his very name has slipped from the annals of history. But if we now all agree for a moment about this fact, then who is Solaire in all of this? Well, another item gives us a starting point. The Secreat Oath miracle says that this is a tale of the sun's firstborn, his faithful first knight, and the brave dragon slayer who served them both. So it's not hard to imagine who the dragon slayer was. We're talking probably about Ornstein, who has many elements in common with the Nameless King, and whose armor can found right after the boss fight, suggesting that he was looking for his master. The same way another knight was looking for his son previously. It's at this point very likely that Solaire is the faithful knight the description was talking about, that he went to Londor to find his lost lord, leader of his covenant. That would explain also why he fought so hard against all those bosses you encounter there. But there's still the problem with the stages, and the fact that he possesses the weapon depicted by them. Well, there's another miracle which gives us a simple explanation for this. The Sunlight Blade miracle, dropped by Gwyn's first son on his father's coffin before leaving Londor, was his symbol. And looking carefully at it, it is almost identical to Solaire's Sunlight Straightsword. So the sword we see on the stages in Dark Souls 1 might be the Sunlight Blade, symbol of Gwyn's heir, while Solaire, being his faithful knight, has a more human version of it, with the same shape to link him to his lord. So moving towards the conclusion of this theory, I believe that Gwyn's Firstborn, god of war, allied at some point with the dragons, and it was the reason why he was stripped of his position and had to leave Londor, leaving behind his knights and a kingdom without a ruler, while his father had already sacrificed himself to the first flame. Time after that, his knight Ornstein left his position to look for him. So Smough was Anor Londo's last real defense, as his hammer tells us in the Lyrith, where you can find it, leaving to Gwendolyn the job to use Ornstein's soul to produce his illusion, the same way he created the illusion of the rest of the god-abandoned city. But Ornstein died at Archdragon Peak, where he might have found his master, when another knight sacrificed his humanity to turn hollow, allowing him to look after his own son, a metaphor for his lord, Gwyn's Firstborn, the Nameless King, gone for such a long time that his real name cannot be found in any book. Then again, the fact that his name is Solaire of Astora, a very noble but faraway land, should be taken as it is. The same way he himself talks about Gwyn's son in third person, underlining his devotion to him and his position as his faithful knight. So guys, this is everything I have to say about the Nameless King and Solaire of Astora. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then leave some feedback in the comments so that I may see that my hard work was appreciated and I may put some effort in maybe for a next lore video. Until then, have a nice day and bye bye.